Okay. All right. Ichiro. Am I pronouncing that correctly?
Of course.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
Thank you.
I've read it a lot,
Yes.
but not said it.
You could also say Ichiro, but that's what my mom says. But
Okay.
I answered everything. Ichiro is how I pronounce it.
Well, why don't you just tell everybody it's the first time here? I've been trying to get this interview for years.
Yes.
What's your deal? Who are you? What do you do? What is your deal?
Well, hey, it might not be a surprise to you, but I've been in video games for some time. Yeah, how about that?
Amazing.
Yeah, I've been in video games for 30 years. I co-founded what would become Sony Online Denver. I founded a company called Dejobaan Games, which was an indie studio that lasted for about 25 years. It was what is our claim to fame there? We have a Guinness World Record for breaking Steam.
Okay.
And yet years later, Valve reached out to me to help solve games discovery for them, so they didn't hate me for it. And about a year ago now, I shuttered Dejobaan. I mothballed it. I'll be back. We'll be back. And I opened a new studio called Totally Human Media, whose remit is to solve the entertainment discovery problem.
Okay. We'll talk about that. I have many questions about that, actually.
I got answers.
Right.
They're not all right.
Yeah, I don't think anybody has the correct answer, but we'll see. So I guess my first question is, so you graduated from WPI,
I
right?
did.
With a degree in physics.
I did. Wow, you did do your homework.
I did. I mean, this is the thing. These are real interviews.
Okay,
I'm not going to ask you,
Yeah. What am I playing?
what's your favorite color? No, these are real.
It's red.
So does a science background help in game development?
Absolutely. So, I remember WPI a few ways, right? It kicked my ass. I hated school. I didn't like doing homework, but it did humanities plus science. And the fact that I wasn't doing computer science, which is something that I was already doing, right? As I didn't study computer science, meant that I had to sort of stretch my brain in a way that I wasn't used to. That was awesome. I use about 1% of the physics, right? Everybody uses Newtonian mechanics in their stuff. But I think just sort of having to think about things in different ways was good, even from when I was in my early 20s.
Yeah, I saw an interview once with one of my favorite film directors, Paul Verhoeven, and he has a bunch of math degrees, and he always said that his math degrees made him think in a way that other directors didn't, that allowed him to make movies in a different way. So
it is I could have easily just gone into, well, actually games didn't exist back then, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we're you and I are roughly the same age within 6 months, and we, computers barely existed back then.
Yeah.
But, could have gone into computer science, which I'm sure I would have loved, but physics was my first real love.
So was there any pressure to go into non-games work after college? Or how did you get into games after college?
So when I was 7 years old, my father sat me down in front of a TI, Texas Instruments 994A, and said, hey, here's your summer. And I loved it. And when I was 14, I and a friend of mine sat down and we created a bulletin board system doors game called Final Frontier. It was about space. And we sold it, and it made enough money so that we could each buy our next computers, the Amiga 2000s. And I realized at that point in 1988, holy shit, I can do games, I can make money, this is going to be awesome.
What was that game called?
Final Frontier.
I always wanted to make a door game. I never could figure out how to do it. Because you had to actually run the BBS or something.
You have to run the BBS. Yeah. But then, you could also just,
What year was that?
88.
So you started professional game development in 1988?
Yes.
Wow, that's crazy.
Which is more than 30 years. But then I went to high school.
Yeah.
And then I went to college, and then, and then I officially started. I don't want to age us too much.
Sure, whatever, it's fine. We're all, come on.
Yeah.
Whatever. We're not fooling anybody. But what were those BBS door games written in 88? How did you make one?
Oh my gosh.
I never remember.
It was in something called GFA Basic, I remember. It was kind of like a quasi-object-oriented, quasi-not-basic. And this was, how many years ago was 1988? It was almost 40 years.
Yeah.
No, that's upsetting.
Yeah, it's 37 years ago. 36 years ago.
So I don't think, it might have been C, but I don't think it was C back then. I didn't know that. So it was just
whatever.
Yeah.
That's just, wow. I've always wanted to make it. I was addicted to door games back then.
You can make one.
Yeah, well now you can. Now you can, you just run an emulator. So you've been surviving as an indie for over 20 years. Right? Well, actually now 36 years.
30, but except I sold out, Ralph. I sold out.
Well, yeah, I was going to ask, like, before your recent sellout, were you ever tempted to go 9 to 5?
Never.
Never.
Like, so I did a bunch of side stuff occasionally. Like, I would do a consulting, and I really liked that, right? You know, my Valve gig was, they approached me in 2018, and they said, hey, do you want to work with us? And I'm like, well, only if I can stay in Boston, do whatever the heck I want for as long as I want. And they were awesome, and it was the anti-9 to 5.
Yeah.
And I thought, okay, that's, you know, the creative juices were flowing, and I could do whatever I want. I'm not set out for 9 to 5.
Sure.
I haven't done a 9 to 5 since '93. I don't know, man. Maybe a different tack. I could have done 9 to 5. I'd be like super, you know, CEO of president of video games now. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's I feel like 9 to 5 jobs today are better than they were when we started. Like, you get massive perks. People make a ton of money. That wasn't the case
if you're high up.
Oh, I don't know. I mean, I've seen some people make.
Have you talked to Gen Z? They hate it, man. It's terrible.
Well, they don't have 9 to 5s anymore. But I'm saying, like, I feel like.
Yeah, you're indie, right? I mean,
yeah,
like
but I have tried to fire myself several times.
It's not
unsuccessfully.
but you like your boss too much.
Sure, but you know what? I've seen what some of these people make at the companies that I have to deal with, and I'm like, you know what? I could probably gulp it down for that amount of total compensation.
So I can answer that question for you and me and everybody. I've been down that route. Consulting can pay really well.
Yeah.
And if you don't love the work, there's a point where you're just like, you know what? I'd rather be indie.
I know that happened. That actually happened to me.
Yeah, there you go. So there's your answer. You're indie.
But it was a long time ago. I was like, a couple times I've done that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just thought, I remember the last time I was consulting at a company, and then they hired me to work there. So I briefly tried to fire myself. I remember Steve Jobs died.
You killed Steve Jobs.
I didn't kill Steve Jobs, but I'm saying it's relevant to the story. But I thought to myself after he died, I was like, I'm not on my deathbed. Am I going to wish that I sat at this desk pretending to work? For like that's gonna be my main regret. So I just quit and went.
The money is nice, but I don't know. I have my house. I don't know. I have my family.
Yeah,
it's good.
Okay. Well, it's good that you've been able. I was going to ask about that, the balancing the family stuff with doing indie, because in my opinion, the indie lifestyle is a revenue roller coaster. It's hard to plan any kind of family or lifestyle around that.
No, I mean, but you just got to do it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I have a 6-year-old and a 16-month-old, and we just did it, and somehow you make it work.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because I was going to ask, like, before you start, did you have an end game, or were you just surviving from one year to the next?
With Dejobaan, my previous company?
Did you have any kind of a plan before you, when you were just consulting and?
Oh, well, I mean, I always did consulting while I was doing Dejobaan.
Right, but did Dejobaan have a grand plan, or was it just like, we got a project now, we got another one, you know what I mean?
What indie studio?
Exactly.
We were small. We were like under 16 for all our projects.
That's still a lot of people. You had under 16?
Yeah.
Having close to 16 is pretty big.
And I think, gosh, what do I want to say about that? I was too young when I was younger.
Right.
Undisciplined. I think, you ask a good question. Do we have a plan? We were making games. And, funny thing, the folks with better plans are also not in business anymore.
Yeah.
So what? Yeah.
I'm in business because I have no choice. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I also kept super lean.
Expenses down. You don't have an office.
I never thought that any time that I was having success that it was going to last. You know what I mean?
It's crazy.
But some people who do are able to scale that, but it's rare.
We weren't. With Dejobaan, I went 25 years. I mothballed it. We will rise again.
Yeah, it's not. It's still an operating LLC or something, right?
Technically, so it's not out of business stuff, but we're not developing.
That's another question for independent developers. Like, when are you out of business? I don't actually know when that happens.
When we stop paying Massachusetts $520 a year for the LLC.
Right. That's when you're out. Yeah. I mean, it's actually a tough determination to make when you're. Sometimes I'm like, I think I'm out of business, but I'm not.
I mean, we're bringing in revenue.
Exactly.
But we're not developing new IP. I'm onto game discovery now.
Right. Well, yes. And before we get to your game, you have done a lot of stuff outside of games.
Yes.
Like the weirdest thing you showed me was, I'm sure you've done weird things, but Lightboxer.
Lightboxer, that was another consulting. I love consulting.
It was cool.
Things.
Yeah, you get to work on weird stuff.
It was weird. One day I decided to solder up. Okay, I got my soldering kit out. I'm like, DDR plus boxing, Dance Dance Revolution, and you're hitting stuff.
Yeah.
And I posted this to Facebook, and then Alex Rogopoulos, who co-founded Harmonix, was like, "Hey, are you working with Todd?" And I'm like, "Who's Todd?" Well, it turns out Todd is a VC in the Boston area who was doing Dance Dance Revolution with boxing, and like they started a company to do that. That was his sort of pet project. You know, when you're worth $1 billion, you can do that. And they needed a gameplay consultant, so I came in and I helped put together a team for that. And it was not just random people soldering stuff together. It was actually EEs and industrial designers, and it was really neat. So one thing that you may know, but not from your indie dev background, is like when you're doing hardware, every pixel costs money, right? Because they're LEDs. So we had this display, this giant display that you hit that was just a bunch of pixels, and they had to be hardened so that, when you hit them.
Yeah.
And then we had to figure out how to make it so that the entire thing could figure out when you're, it was non-trivial, and it turned out awesome, and we showed out at PAX.
Yeah, you showed it to me, 2019, I think.
Did I show it to you?
Yeah, I saw it.
Yeah. It was a lot of fun.
That's interesting that it was a lot of fun to work on, because I have heard nightmares and experienced nightmares of like working for the rich guy. Like, it's not a company, it's not a startup, it's just some guy.
Well, these guys were great. I mean, and like, so it was Todd, and there's this Jeff Morin heads up that company. It's light sport now. They're not just boxing, but all sports. And Jeff's just a really great guy to work with. It's like, MIT dude, very even tempered and just sort of like, measured. I really liked working with that team.
It's interesting because like, you've been in Boston your whole life. Like
mostly, so I was born in Chicago, moved, before I could.
Yeah, but like I started out in the Boston game development scene, but I moved to LA because at the time there were 3 companies.
It drives me nuts that Boston keets shedding talent.
Well, now there's a lot of companies here, relatively speaking, to when I started.
We're trying to keep them, right? I mean, we have Proletariat / Activision, Blizzard, et cetera, et cetera. We have Warner Brothers down here in Forest. We have Activision going to Rockstar, et cetera, et cetera. But we the game development industry keeps trying to yeet people out of itself. It's weird.
Because when I started, I worked at Papyrus.
Yeah.
And back then there was Papyrus.
Yep.
Psygnosis, who was a mystery to me. I didn't know anybody who worked
in Boston?
Psygnosis was in Cambridge.
No shit.
Yeah, I don't know what they were working on, but they were in Cambridge. They had a Cambridge office.
This was 90s.
Yeah. Psygnosis, Papyrus, Impressions, Looking Glass, and Reality Bites.
Yep.
And then briefly,
and
I went to see some weird students from Brown University in Rhode Island who were working on an MMO that seemed pretty cool. The company was called Second Nature, which I think became Turbine, right? Really? That was not Boston, it was adjacent. Yeah. And I remember going in there and being like, huh, interesting. It was like 1996, something like that.
Man. It's been a spell.
Yeah, but now, I mean, it seems like now there's a lot more going on here. You have had a game development career in Boston.
We have a great community. We have Boston Game Dev Week preceding PAX each year. Well, I say each year. It started this year and it's going on. But I mean, long-time game studios like Fire Hose, Aton, if you know him, Aton Gleiner, good friend of mine, good guy. They had to go out of business this year.
Oh, really?
Because they just the publishing landscape is insane, right? I mean, it's like nobody's funding anything.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of think there's a lot of weird stuff monetization-wise going on in games. Like, I feel like, I don't know I haven't formulated this theory yet, but it's like they're almost turning game development into being an influencer. I still have the seltzer over there, but they're almost like, if you look at, for instance, Horizon Worlds, they have this creator fund where they give you money like they would give a YouTuber for getting getting views. And it's almost like there's a new business model emerging where you develop games for engagement and get paid on engagement instead of users paying you for stuff.
It's a weird world.
And but it's interesting. I'm like, well, it's an interesting opportunity. I haven't figured out, I've experimented with it, but
you have to either go all in or you have to be pure in, make pinball games, awesome pinball games.
Right. I mean, but I do. You can't survive off that. There's a lot of other stuff I do too.
Enough,
yeah.
Yes.
I mean, I think being pure indie is actually a way to go bankrupt. You have to basically kind of.
I know so many pure indies who are on the razor's edge.
It's not a good. It's a terrible idea.
But I mean, you know, what are you going to do?
Well, I mean, I've done other stuff like I've applied, and you have as well, applied your video game development talents to verticals outside of games. Because now you can, like I worked at a healthcare VR app that was essentially a game. And it was all game development, but it was FDA approved, you know, physical therapy.
Yeah.
So there's things you can do outside of games. But maybe, you know, people such as ourselves, or I don't know about you, but it's like I love making games, but I like also being in business. So it's kind of like I'll make games when the opportunity presents itself. That I need a game for that opportunity. I'm not like I don't have like a game I really want to make. I'm trying to get it made. It's like, this platform has a slot. I got an idea. Let's make a game for it.
I first of all, I need a vacation for about 12 months.
Okay.
Second of all, I love being games adjacent now with the new company because in my spare time, I think about games, and it's kind of like no pressure. I don't have to do it. I don't have to pitch it. I don't have to think about it. When I want to work on it, I work on it. I know it's eventually going to be a game, but there's no pressure.
Yeah, I mean, the hardest thing for me is just like figuring out when and how a game is fun, and then trying to build. Like the technical part of it's easy.
Yeah.
Hit the button thing.
Well, you're
happens.
a tech guy, right?
Sure, but more of a means to an end. Like I like to make games. That's why I learned how to code and went to UMass. You know, but it was like
I didn't know you spent so much time. You know, it's crazy. There's so many folks from the Boston area who have spent a decade in the Boston area, or you grew up in the Boston area. That it's like I left, right? I mean, we just
they were making games in Los Angeles and in Dallas. I had to go there.
Yeah.
There was 3 companies, and none of them would hire me.
Yeah.
I interviewed at several of them. I went all the way to Northampton to interview at Cyberlore. Remember those guys? What happened to those guys?
Well, it's safe to say that 90% of all game dev I call Boston the mythological phoenix of game development. Every time, like every 12 years, we grow big and then we explode in fire and then we go to ashes and reform. So Infocom, Looking Glass, you know, Harmonix and Company, or Irrational, I guess is a good thing. And then and then now, what's happening now, right? So this is the next, what
is happening now?
Well, I mean, like Proletariat was, it was years ago, acquired by, you know, Activision Blizzard. We got a bunch of studios that are sort of hanging on. Maybe it'll stick this time.
Maybe. I mean, I feel like, I mean, it's just like, I feel like now distributed teams and I hadn't moved to LA because there was no such thing in the 90s. They were just making games there.
Yeah.
You know? And then I had to move to Dallas because that's where they're making games.
But Dallas is kind of nice. I mean, there's good stuff going on.
I mean, I haven't been back since 1999.
You can't see his expression. It said it all.
I haven't been back
Austin,
to Dallas.
Then.
Yeah, I mean, Austin, I think Mark Maron called it the hipster Alamo.
Yeah, fair enough.
I'm not like, I'm just saying.
Look, I'm not moving there. I'm Boston.
I don't, it's, you know what? I lived in Dallas before Yelp. So maybe I'd have a better time because I didn't know where anything was.
I mean, Dallas is a little.
Dallas is just basically
serious
companies that are there to save money on taxes. It's just a bunch of corporate headquarters.
Yeah, fair enough.
But Austin had a lot of cool stuff.
Yeah,
but
right. Let's take a
you know, whatever. But bottom line is you had to move to where the action was.
Yes. That's Boston.
Yeah, I mean, now the action's kind of everywhere. But all right, so you're the first person I know to go all in on AI. You love AI.
I hate AI. Oh, I hate it.
It's a thing people can't talk about, apparently.
I use it.
You've done a lot of public experimentation in AI. Right, it's no secret.
Yeah. It's no secret.
But you hate it and love it. So how does that work?
Okay, so look, for my new company, my goal is to solve top-of-funnel game discovery, which is to say, when people try to discover new games, how do they do it? 99% of the time, they're reading about GTA 6. Right? Or whatever the next Call of Duty and so forth is. Like, there's a lot of ink spilled about the very biggest games. Scopely spent $500 million on Monopoly Go marketing. Right? That's insane. So there are all these wonderful smaller games that are kind of being missed out. There's a lot of problems with generative AI, right? I mean, like, arguably they're going to ruin the universe. I'm going to go on record right now in saying that they will kill 1 million people in the next 10 years. Somebody will put them in a position, an AI in position of decision making, and it'll fuck up.
Well, they've already done that. I mean, you can look a lot of the policy coming out of the White House is literally generated by an LLM that will kill people.
It hasn't killed a million people yet.
We're only 6 months in, though.
But so
it's going to
in the next 5-10 years.
Yeah,
right.
Next 2.
And then there's like, there are some environmental concerns, which I think are they're like I think they're my least of the concerns.
I feel like it can be mitigated.
And then there's they literally are trained on copyrighted stuff, right? So where I use LLMs is to summarize what's awesome about an indie game. I'm okay. I eat meat. I know that factory farmed meat kills animals. I know LLMs kill creativity, but I'm actually hoping that ChatGPT can talk about a game very briefly in a way that will make people say, you know what, I want to research that more. I want to go and because I saw one of Ralph's pinball games, and I want to look at a human YouTuber talking about one of the games and do that sort of on ramp. So that's how I like AI.
Well, okay. So I have a bunch of AI questions, but also discovery. I have discovery questions too.
Ask me the AI question. Ask me the tough questions. We're here to talk.
Well, yeah. I mean, I'm just kind of curious about. I just have a hard time calling it AI. I don't think what we're using now is actually AI. It's just
goalposts. Come on.
But what I'm saying is, the people that I know that I use it a lot. I use it. I think it's great for programming because it's basically programming is using a lot of patterns, and it's essentially just matching patterns. Right. It's a statistical word engine, as they say. Yes. Right. So it's like very good at programming because a lot of what I do has been done a million times before, and it can go, oh, this is what this person wants.
And you are a senior engineer.
Right. I grew up in an era before AI where I had to learn something.
How to actually use it. Right. Yes.
But I think that a lot of people, like a friend of mine the other day had a problem. He's trying to write something, some legal document, and this LLM doesn't know. I said, hey, tell me what happened yesterday. It doesn't know what yesterday is. And I'm like, it doesn't know what anything is.
Yeah. You got that non-rhotic Boston accent. You are from Boston.
Wait, a lot of people say I don't have a Boston accent. What did you call it?
Yesterday. Non-rhotic.
Non-rhotic.
Rhotic, R's.
Oh.
Boston. Harvard Yad. No, wait, rhotic, R. Yeah. Non-rhotic Boston accent.
I have a non-rhotic, ladies and gentlemen.
You do. Like you and Tim Keenan. You know Tim?
I don't think so.
So Tim Keenan's awesome. He came from Canton, and he is in L.A. No, San Francisco now. Okay. Misfits Attic. He did Duskers. He worked for Bad Robot for a bit.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
When he, sorry everyone, when he gets a little tipsy, the R's come out. As come out.
Yeah, I mean it's been said that if I get mad or whatever, my accent
that's good.
changes.
I appreciate it because I feel like I'm faking. Anyway, so yeah, AI.
Well, it's just it doesn't actually. People think it doesn't. Like I read a story about the guy who created Eliza.
Right.
And he said one day he came into his office and his secretary was using it, and he said, well, what are you using it for? And she said, oh, it's like a great therapist or whatever. And he said, no, please, that's not what it's literally just a parlor trick.
Right. It's a parrot.
Right, and so
this is a more complex parrot.
It's a more complex parrot, but then again, perhaps a lot of human beings are just complex parrots. So maybe it is intelligence.
I think. I mean, for all intents and purposes. I talked to Claude today to figure out what are the security holes in my Fast API, and it's like, you are not using JWT tokens, and JWT, and I'm like, and so you and I, again, we've been around enough to be able to challenge it and say, actually, I'm learning this stuff, but also you sound like bullshit here. And that's what I think we need.
Yeah. I just kind of feel bad for the generation growing up today that doesn't have the background in facts and is just learning through AI only.
I don't know.
How's that going to work?
Is it like the same thing as Wikipedia back when the Wikipedia generation?
Sure, Wikipedia is a bit more accurate than AI. I think it is. Because it has multiple humans perhaps being able to call bullshit on it.
Humans are squishy and
this is
wrong.
True. This is true. Yeah, I don't know. It's I think that people don't. They think it does things that it actually doesn't. Like the term artificial intelligence, it's actually not. It doesn't actually know anything, and that makes it, people try to use it in a way that I just like that Claude Vend example where it runs a store.
Yes,
I'm like, but it's not running a store. Yeah. It's LARPing as running a store, and it thinks that this is what you want to hear.
I mean, isn't that the first when you were young And you did a lemonade stand, weren't you LARPing running a store?
Right, but what I wonder is it going to get any better? I don't know if this technological approach is a dead end that won't get any better than that.
5 years into this.
It's true.
5 years into game development, and we had the ability to like plot pixels.
Yeah,
right. I mean, like it's pretty interesting.
It's fascinating, but I just feel like we're going to hit some sort of asymptotic limit where it just doesn't get any better at some of these things.
Even if we don't advance in the tech, I think that we'll find optimizations that are kind of interesting. So I think about, like, you grew up in the 80s, arcade games.
Yeah.
Imagine if compute never got better than 1985 arcade games.
Sure.
We could figure out ways to optimize that and to innovate. I think we'll do that with AI.
Yeah, I think that's fair. So do you use AI for any creative purposes, or are you using it for purely just for analysis now when you're doing discovery? Like, how do you balance the use of AI with your own creativity?
So I use AI for as follows. Like, I will walk my son home from daycare, and I will talk notes. Hey, go to market plan is blah, 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 and I will just spew out garbage, and I will have it summarize that. I will use AI for, here are 3 games. What's awesome about those 3 games? And then I will send them to my, we have a guy, young guy. Everybody's young now, man.
Yeah, I know.
It's like, and I'm like, hey, Ethan, you can, we can give you a bunch of summaries of stuff about these games, and you can do TikToks about those. And he'll use that as a basis potentially for research.
Yes.
And to talk about those games. Do I use it for creative stuff? I mean, my new company is about games discovery, so I guess the most creative thing that we're doing is, like, we do haikus about games, and it's like, here's a haiku about a game, can you guess what game it is? That's kind of creative, but really, I don't want to kill the creative spirit in humans. What I want to do is I want to encapsulate, sort of first blush, here's a really great game, here's what might be interesting about that game. If that interests you, here are jumping off points to talk to, to listen to streamers, to go to the studio's website, to go to the Steam page, and so forth and so on.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the uses that you described are what it's good at, which is things that don't need to be accurate or correct. It's basically, I use it for pitches.
Yeah.
I say, hey, I'll feed it a document that describes a platform. Yeah. Maybe there's a grant program or whatever. And it lists out parameters like we want. I'll be like, give me 10 ideas for this,
and
one of them is good.
Right.
And I'm like, okay.
Yep.
It's very good for that kind of stuff. But I do think the way I use it in programming, I think a lot of the code it generates is stuff that I would have hired an intern to do, and I don't need them
and they
anymore.
get it wrong, and you'd be like,
right,
actually,
exactly.
Right.
And so I think in code it's going to get pretty good.
I agree.
I mean,
it's already pretty good.
It's already pretty good, but here's the thing, I've managed programmers.
Yes.
So I know how to manage an AI.
Yeah.
As if it was
weirdly the same.
It's kind of like having an intern that kind of knows what they're talking about, but is also a pathological liar.
Smart and overconfident.
Yeah. And so, it's almost, I'm just kind of thinking in the future, will any code end up being like machine language that we don't touch and we just explain in natural language what we want? I don't know.
I'll tell you in 5 years.
Yeah, yeah. Interesting. So, okay, we'll talk about discovery here.
Talk about discovery, the biggest problem in game development in the games industry.
I mean, here's my question about discovery as someone who's published many games now, several games. I mean, is discovery a problem, or is people making games for the wrong audience the problem? I mean, you know what I mean? Like, it just seems like discovery is a problem that can't be fixed for 2 reasons. Number one is the storefronts don't allow it, because if you put a game on the PlayStation Store, the people just browse PlayStation to find games to buy. They don't necessarily. I'd have to get data from Sony. I'm not sure how popular buying games. I do it all the time, but how popular buying games from the web links are. But that ecosystem is completely controlled by Sony, who has their own system for surfacing sales and stuff. And then, so like a lot of the discovery is dictated by the store, and we find that press coverage of these things don't move the needle at all. So how do you fix discovery when a lot of the discovery problems are sort of endemic in the actual store you distribute on?
So we talked to Sony at GDC. They're awesome. Kim, if you're watching this, thumbs up. Okay, let's talk about the sales funnel, right?
Yeah.
Like sales funnel is essentially a weird metaphor. It's a fucking weird metaphor, right? It's leaky. Sales funnel is about buyer's journey. Top of the funnel, people find out about games. Middle of funnel, they're like, I want to find out about this game. I'm going to write, read reviews. I'm going to talk to friends about it. I'm going to watch streams about it. Bottom of funnel, you're ready to buy. You hit the button, you buy. Every platform, and this is something that I don't think a lot of developers understand. And having worked at Valve, I understand more now than I did 5 years ago. Platforms are bottom of funnel. Their purpose is to allow gamers to purchase games that they know about and to play them and to share them with friends, right? So Steam, let's talk about Steam in particular.
Right.
Like, I worked on Steam for a while.
Which I feel is the best store when it comes to all those things.
It is the best
I feel
store
that nothing
for all
else is
things.
even close.
It's like, the Winston Churchill quote, democracy is the worst form of government except for all other governments that have been tried from time to time. That's Steam.
I don't even think Steam is the worst. I think Steam's pretty good.
No, but it's the best
Yes.
of all. But the quote is important. Democracy is the worst form of government except for all others that have been tried from time to time. Steam, and I love Valve. Steam is the worst platform except for every single other platform that has been tried from time to time. But platforms are bottom of funnel. They ideally expect their users to already know about games, right? If you go to a Steam page, if you go to a Nintendo eShop page, if you go to an App Store page, PlayStation, they are going to show you things that are like the bottom floor of an IKEA. It's like back of the box stuff. It is available for $9.99. $9.99. Sorry, I'm slurring my words. And these platforms are already expecting you, the consumer, to know about these things, and they're really, really great at converting. They're really bad at informing consumers about new products because that's not their job. Their job is to do the bottom of the funnel stuff, right? The top of the funnel stuff, the awareness stuff, is handled by press, decreasingly, Polygon, rock, paper, shotgun, I love you, I want you guys all success, but I think gaming press is undervalued. Mm-hmm. Social media, right? People talk about games, right? So all this awareness has happened outside of Steam, PlayStation, eShop, et cetera, and by the time you get there, you know about a game, right? So they don't want to solve top of funnel. They want to solve bottom of funnel, and they do a good job of that.
Yeah, but it's funny because the top of funnel stuff, they still make an attempt, right? Like I find in my experience, my best sales are Steam and Switch. And it's funny because Switch is a store that's extremely, well, actually the new Switch 2, they've done some amazing,
they've done
amazing changes to it.
Yeah.
You can look at your wish list and it'll tell you which wish list games are on sale, which is amazing.
Yep.
Of course, something Steam already had, but whatever. But it's kind of funny because Steam, very elaborate store. Most of our traffic comes from inside Steam.
So that's a problem.
Yeah.
That's an ecosystem problem. Yeah. That is not a Valve problem. Valve is trying to help you with that, right? So here's the problem with that. Steam is the back of the box. You go to the store and you see the back of the box, and ideally you already know about the game before you're going to purchase it. But TikTok, Twitter/X, Blue Sky, YouTube, TikTok, Twitch. I said TikTok twice. Yeah. They're supposed to solve the problem of knowing your games before they come into Steam, but they don't. So Steam comes along and they're like, holy crap, nobody knows about 99% of these games. Let's try to solve that problem. But then they give you this back of the box experience, this bottom store, basement IKEA experience where if you go to the Steam page, and I'd like you to do that right now, they will show you for many AAA games, they will show you 8 options for buying the game.
It's so confusing.
Right? And they're like, okay, and then here are the languages that it's in, and then here's the latest updates, And that's not first time ambassador to your game. Like, if you don't know about a game, you want this gorgeous flyer about a game that's like, hey, this pinball game is going to change it. And I say pinball because I know you from pinball.
Yeah.
Right? It's going to change your life. Here's the way that it's awesome, right? I mean, here are all the, the high points that are, like, I'm going to sell you like a band flyer or something like that. And Steam doesn't do that because it is not their job. But nobody else does that job. That's what we're trying to do.
Yeah, I feel like one of the problems is, I feel like Steam, like they have a mobile app, but it's not very mobile, right? It looks like Steam on the desktop, and I just kind of feel like your mobile store should look like TikTok.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like you should be able to swipe left to right on games. It should just be constant.
Ralph, have you seen WeLoveEveryGame.com? That's awesome.
I have seen you post about it, but I haven't looked at it yet.
We're working on it.
Oh, okay, right, okay. Is it publicly available? Can we all look at? Okay.
We're very slowly rolling out. We're in a stealth mode.
But the problem is none of these stores have easily usable widgets to allow you to convert from a social media post to a sale. You still have to open up the app and buy the game. The distance between social media traffic or attention and a sale is so great that in many cases it also doesn't work too well.
Absolutely, but it's even worse than that. So, depending on whom you talk to, the number of times you have to talk about a product before somebody is sort of like, oh, that's interesting, is like 3 to 7 times, right?
Yeah.
It's like, here's a new shoe, here's a new shoe, here's a new shoe, 3 to 7 times. So that's top of funnel, that's sort of awareness stuff. And the problem is even more dire, even simpler than you're saying, is there's not a lot of content that just says, here's a game for you. Here's 10 games for you. Here's kind of like in 3 bullet points. Here's a really, really rough idea of why they might be interesting to you, so that you can let it sort of like waft across your brain, right? When's the last time you went to an ice cream shop?
Like yesterday.
Yesterday, right?
A couple days ago.
Did you taste any flavors?
I don't believe in that.
You don't believe in that?
I don't believe. I'm like, listen, you're buying ice cream. You're not buying a car. Just buy the ice cream.
Shit. I love it.
Just buy the fucking ice cream.
Okay, so most people will take samples.
Yeah, and that's when I walk out of the store. If I see somebody in front of me taking more than 2 samples, I'm out. Shouldn't be allowed.
At an ice cream shop, you can take 3 samples.
But actually, you know what? Not to interrupt you, this actually relates to a question.
Yeah.
Because my philosophy of why I hate ice cream samples. Like, how much research do people do on a $9 purchase of a game? Like, you know what I mean?
Oh, gosh, you're right.
And that's why I hate these people with ice cream samples.
Ice creams cost $6.
But are people?
You're in LA, it might cost $9.
Yeah, probably. But are people ice cream sampling? Like most people probably want 4 samples to scrutinize a $4.50 purchase. So you do need to give people that many tastes to figure out if they want to buy a game.
So consumers are weird, right? Like Starbucks coffee costs $6.
Yeah.
Right? And you just do it. A game costs $6, and you're like, do I really want that? Different mindset.
Yeah.
But if you can give people a taste of things, like a little tiny taste of a game, right?
Yeah.
In a way that is lower friction than the eShop, PlayStation Store, App Store, Google, etc. Even Steam, whom I love. Guys, I love you, but you can do a better job. And it just gets in your brain. You're like, you know what? I like a roguelike deck builder like Million Launcher Militia. It's in my brain. I don't want to buy it yet. And then you see it a few times, and then you're like, okay, I'll do more research on it.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, going back to one of my original points, though, it's still hard to close the sale from the social media stuff. And it's kind of funny because I feel like, I don't know if it's Steam's responsibility or whoever, but, at one point, I was talking to Snapchat, or I was talking to somebody there about, I want a widget. I want a widget where if I could post a snap of my game, you click the button and you can buy it inside Snap.
Yep.
All these apps like TikTok, whatever, have monetization. You can buy stuff inside Instagram.
Yes.
You can buy shirts, and you never leave the Instagram app.
Yeah.
And that functionality needs to be built into all these game stores where you can buy, games on the PlayStation Network without going to the PlayStation Network. You can click a button on the reel on Instagram and buy it. But that means you got to force Meta to build that functionality.
I agree with you. However, I think before we do that, what we can do is just raise awareness.
Yeah.
There are literally tens of thousands of games on Steam that have 90% positive user reviews, but have sold so poorly that their studios can't be in business anymore, right?
True, but this kind of goes back to one of my original questions: is it the right game for the wrong audience? I mean, Steam has an audience that likes a certain kind of game, and if you make a game that they don't like, they're just not there.
Steam has, like, I don't know, 130 million users?
That's not that many people, though, if you think about it.
That's a lot of people if you think about it, man. Come on, that's like, do you know how many hidden object cat games there are on Steam?
I don't know. I'm sure,
Yeah.
you know.
They're like hundreds.
Sure.
Now I gotta come up with the number. I don't remember off the top of my
yeah,
head.
we can, you know. I
But
mean,
like, so Steam caters to a lot of audiences. I mean, they're definitely mid-core, hardcore.
but I mean, like, you know, there's like what? How many people are on Facebook now? Like 3 billion people on Facebook,
3
and there's
billion on
150
yeah,
million
right.
people on Steam.
Yeah.
It's just not that many people. It's still a narrow demographic.
Absolutely true.
Yeah.
Which is why we'll eventually, you know, branch out from Steam to console, mobile. I want to do books eventually. Like,
Yeah, I mean, my experience with console is the attach rate's extremely low. People buy consoles to play 2 games. They
Yeah,
play
exactly,
Fortnite and
right.
2K,
But
and that's
I
it.
mean, they do that for Steam too. Most Steam users play like.
But I feel Steam still has a bigger user base of people that are voracious game consumers than consoles.
Absolutely, but like a good percentage of Steam users
Oh, I'm sure.
own.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But in my experience, it could just because of the kinds of games I have.
Yeah.
Steam and Switch have the highest attach rate. People love. I think for me, I feel Switch is a function of the fact that at least in the Switch 1, they couldn't get AAA games, so those people had to go digging.
Well, but I mean, Switch has the benefit of being Nintendo, right?
Sure.
My wife says, "Have you eaten already?" Host was a no-show, and I may pick something up. You know what? I like. You know Matt Gilgenbach?
I do not.
He's at Google now. He used to be an indie, and his
Mm-hmm.
favorite memory was we were on a PAX East panel together, and I took a call from my dad,
Uh-huh.
and I just talked to him about game development on the panel
Hey, why
for like
not?
about 3 minutes. We can do anything we want.
Yeah.
There's literally nobody telling me I can't talk about something, except
Yeah.
you maybe if I talk
I
too
don't
weird.
care. You can talk about
Yeah.
whatever you want. I mean, this is the thing. You know, I'm trying to combat AI-generated influencer videos. No AI is going to try to clone this aesthetic of asking your wife
so-
to bring home a Costco chicken or whatever.
Whoa! I just got a BJ's chicken 2 days
Yeah.
ago. I used that for 2 days. I made 2 meals out of it.
Yeah.
It was $5.
It's $5.
It was amazing.
And now Costco has a special container you can buy just for their chicken.
We don't have a Costco now. No, we have AI influencers. We have John Tadpole, who talks about hits and hidden gems. He's not as good as you. That's the problem.
I don't influence anybody. I have like 300 subscribers.
That's fine, man. You're gonna have like 600 by the time.
Nice. Nice.
I'm enjoying this.
Yeah, like, is discovery really a problem, or is making the right game for the
no,
audience?
that's a great question.
So, like you've seen in the Quest. So, what happened to me was I was at Meta Connect last year, and around August they had just decurated the store, and so
I'm sorry, they decurated.
decurated the store. It used to be you had to get them to approve your game.
Yes.
They put it on.
Okay.
Right.
Got it. Yeah. Right.
So they now
But, I
anything
mean,
can
they
come on.
still editorialize.
You can put anything on now. It seems there's no real approval of concepts or whatever.
Surface is different
Sure,
from what's.
but that's different. But regardless of that, that affects. You know, I asked everybody at Meta Connect. I was like, "What are you guys doing about this?" Because this reminds me of when I started my company. I was making flip phone games. Then the iPhone came out, and I remember when the iPhone came out. I was like, "Oh, who cares?" I'm like, "It's gonna be just like when I had to."
I mean,
you know,
it was amazing.
But
Initially.
but when I was making games for Verizon, I had to go fly to Orlando and beg somebody to put a game out.
To put it up there.
People were straight up just bribing people, all this stuff to get games on the deck. It was wild because it was like 2 people in charge of what
Yeah,
goes on and on.
right.
So when the iPhone came out, I thought, oh, it's gonna be the same thing. But then I realized, wow, they just let almost anything out.
I mean, they did.
And the Quest store kind of transitioned from kind of what mobile was like in 2006
Right,
to the iPhone. It was kind of like an iPhone moment.
Same thing with Steam, right?
Sure, Steam had the same thing. I think Steam navigated that transition a lot better because the Quest, you know, most people I was talking to would say, well, I'm just going to make the same kind of games I'm making. I'm like, well, I think that the audience is going to dramatically shift now, and you might not be able to make the kind of games you want. And it seems like a lot of premium games are not doing very well, but the free-to-play games aimed at like 12-year-olds, like the market has gotten a lot younger.
Yeah.
And so is there a discovery problem to solve? It's just like the audience is not there anymore. It's pivoted.
Is a really interesting question. Is discovery a problem? So are you familiar with the aspirin versus vitamin dichotomy?
No, I have not heard this.
In business, a problem is either an aspirin problem or a vitamin problem.
Okay.
Aspirin problem. Holy shit, I have a fucking headache. I need this problem solved right now. Oh my God, I will pay $15 for an aspirin.
Right.
Vitamin problem. This is probably going to make my life better. I'm going to be healthier. It's going to be great. B12, excellent.
Sure.
Vitamin, I'll pay $5 for, Developers have an aspirin problem. Holy shit, they have a discovery problem. They are not being discovered. They are not being connected to their ideal customer base, right? And this is like, oh, my sitter's almost done.
Oh,
sorry.
Yep, it's okay.
It's fine.
Yeah.
It's fine. This is what you're a game developer with kids. This is what happens.
Yeah, this is real life, everybody.
It's real life.
Real life.
Consumers do not have a discovery problem. They have GTA 6 to look forward to.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, they have Horizons to look forward to. Like, I've played Polytopia a bazillion times. And technically, I want to do something else, but like, consumers have like a vitamin problem. It's like nice to have. Developers have an aspirin problem.
Yes. Okay.
So, like, when you're watching Netflix, you're missing out on some really great shows. I'm positive of this. There are shows out there that you would love that you're missing. But is it a real problem in your life? You and your girlfriend who's walking Mount Auburn right now, you watch something. What are you watching now?
You know what? I watch a lot of movies. I don't really watch a lot of TV.
That's fine. Movies count.
Yeah,
what are you watching?
I watched Zoltan, the Hound of Vampire, the Dracula's
right? You
dog.
Find it. Like, so there are TV shows that my wife and I would love to watch that we don't know about. It's not an aspirin problem. We're not like, my bones don't hurt because of it. And so I think consumers just don't view themselves as having a problem.
Right. You're solving the developer problem because the consumers don't have a problem.
I think that what I want to do is to demonstrate to consumers that there's a whole world out there. Like, there are literally 110,000+ games on Steam.
Yeah.
And like, so many of them are well rated, that are very specifically for you. And you could be playing these things, and we will match you up with the developers creating these wonderful experiences. So yeah, in many cases, like, if you're making MMO, well, great. But like, there are a lot of other studios that are making kind of like really great puzzle platformers that deserve some attention, that aren't getting attention, that people will be like, you know what? This isn't literally the most mind-blowing thing that I've played, but like, God, I want to play something. This is it. And that's not being served.
Interesting. Yeah. I kind of just feel like there's this seismic audience shift happening now that's going to affect us 10 years down the road, just because the
I'm going to be 60, Ralph.
Right. So, you know what?
I'm going to be retired.
We're going to maybe.
Maybe not.
We'll see. We'll see if you can get that acquisition going before the VC funds timeline runs out. But I listened to my friend was telling me how his son all he does is play games on Roblox.
Yep.
And all he does is buy cosmetic upgrades that don't do anything.
Yeah.
And he told me his son was like, Dad, I gotta get home for 5 o'clock because I gotta get to the training session to learn how to be a cashier. He was playing some supermarket. It's not even a game. It's a role-playing supermarket where they become cashiers and then they pretend to have a job.
Was it the Kmart one?
I don't know what it was. But what I'm saying is this is the next generation of game players.
Yeah.
And are we just old men who are not making games for these? This audience is going to want something that we don't even recognize as a game.
Agreed. But, I mean, a zillion people played Balatro.
Yeah.
Balatro, right? Like, that's an indie game that blew up and is good and it's wonderful. I think that still exists.
Yeah. I agree, but it's also a really good game.
It is amazing.
You know what I mean?
It's
and it really hits.
There are a lot of really good games out there, though.
But I think that game's also kind of catnip for the Steam audience. But it blew up everywhere, not just Steam.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just interesting because I just kind of feel like a lot of games are good, but a lot of music is good, but for six people.
Like,
you know,
ice cream, Haagen-Dazs ice cream is good.
sure.
Right? And it's fun. And you can eat a lot of ice cream. There are a lot of games out there that are good, that are really well executed, that have a lot of love put into them, and are like, Haagen-Dazs, they're rich. They don't necessarily need to break the mold for video games, but they're worth playing.
Yeah, I mean, it's just not, I feel like these storefronts, well, it's weird to me. I'm like, it's kind of not in their interest to improve discovery, but it is because they make more money.
Can I tell you something?
Yeah.
Can I let you in on a secret?
Yeah.
So a lot of people will recognize that storefronts don't need to solve discovery to profit. Like Steam made what, grossed $1 billion in revenue in 2024. I actually believe that it is counter to a platform's interests to balkanize games, right? It is better for everybody to be playing GTA 6 when it comes out than for everybody to be playing their perfect game.
Right.
Because network effects tend to be exponential, right? I mean, like a bazillion people talking about one game is a lot better than like, tens of thousands of people talking about their individual games. So I think platforms are disincentivized from solving discovery the way I want to.
Which kind of makes solving discovery hard because the platforms are disincentivized to build the hooks you might need to unlock that.
I don't know. Look, if you're a VC out there, I want to solve top of funnel game discovery. There's an opportunity, and I don't think platforms need to want to solve it for it to be worth solving.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen in the past, Verizon, who I talked to in the past, back in this interview, they did
Big kudos for that.
They bought a company. What? Big kudos for what?
Talking to Verizon. I never talked to them. Well, I talked to Happy Puppy about my Palm Pilot games.
Yeah. Oh well, I mean, it's a long story, but way back in the day, when I started my company, I walked out of my job in the middle of the day because I was like, I'm going to hang myself if I'm still working this stupid company. I just disappeared from lunch one day.
You're a true indie.
Yeah, I just vanished from work.
That. Did you really?
Yeah, I did. It's a long story. It's
next podcast.
Yeah, I mean, but I went out to Qualcomm, and Qualcomm showed me this demo, and it was like, okay, you hit this button, and it charges the user's phone bill 99 cents.
Yeah.
And I said, what?
Yes.
I said, I don't care what kind of garbage SDK this is. It was basically the SDK they used to write the address book on the black and white phone, but they opened it up. I'm like, I will make games for this because I don't care.
Yeah.
You could charge 99 cents, and
it was a quarter century ago.
It was 2001.
Yeah.
It was pre 9/11.
Yeah.
And I saw that, and I was like, I am there.
Yeah.
And I remember being in a Verizon store trying to buy phones, which, by the way, they thought I was a drug dealer because I was going into the store to buy 3 unactivated phones, and they were like, we will not let you leave the store, sir, with unactivated phones. It was weird. But I would have to go to Verizon all the time to buy unactivated phones to test on. And I remember waiting in line and seeing this little girl.
He is a drug dealer, by the way.
It's just the drug is
little girl,
pinball.
Wait, sorry, I'm sorry.
There was a little girl with her mom in line, and the mom was there to complain to Verizon that her little daughter had spent $300 on games, and I was looking at her like, yes, you are my customer base.
She's a whale.
Because it was like there were no
My daughter at the age of 3 bought Spider-Man 2 Gold Edition.
She'll like that about 10 years from now.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, fair enough.
So yeah, I mean, I don't know. We can continue on, but I mean that's a good chunk. That's a good chunk of interview.
It is a good chunk. Yeah. I like the only reason I'm enjoying it.
Yeah, that's fine.
We got 8 minutes left
until
my babysitter.
Speed round. I don't know.
Speed round.
What do I got? What else do I got? Do I have anything I didn't cover? I don't know. I mean, I just don't understand how we didn't cross paths in the Boston game development scene at all.
I was quiet. I'm a introvert.
Yeah.
Like super.
Mm-hmm.
So did you go to Boston Postmortem?
No. What is it? I don't even know what that is.
It existed in the 90s. It was basically at Christopher's or Skellig's or, I'm sad. So many people leave Boston.
Well, back then you didn't know when I mean, it was 1995. Like, there was no real internet. Like, I didn't know where there were events.
Yeah. I talk to everybody. They're young now. They're full of life. They're gregarious. They talk. Sometimes I have folks in my backyard and they're like, they're all younger than me.
Yeah, I mean, that's fine. I feel like, we're youthful.
I agree.
You know?
You got energy.
Well, when I graduated from college, I was like, hey, let's go make some video games.
Right.
And most people were like, no, I'm gonna go get a quote-unquote real
Here's what
job.
we're gonna do.
Yeah.
We're gonna actually.
We're gonna walk. It's a.
Here,
it can
you
do
take
it.
this.
You can do it.
You can do it. We're gonna go to the ATM.
Wait, let me move this. Oh, we're gonna go. Okay.
Well, because I got.
There we go. Let me just aim properly. Here we go. I got this.
I
got this.
I got to pay my babysitter.
Okay. This is a walk and talk. This is a first for this channel.
Yeah, I know, right? Like 1/4 of your interviews are stuff. I'm enjoying this.
This is amazing.
Okay.
It's a slice of life.
Like, so when you are in your, like, we're both half century into the world.
We're both men of a certain age, as they say.
You don't have kids.
No.
That's fair. I have a 16-month-old. My 6-year-old loves certain games. Hi, how you doing?
Hi.
Loves certain games.
Right.
She loves Minecraft. Who doesn't love Minecraft,
Sure.
right? I mean, she built this whole thing. I have it running. It's kind of tough because I want to play with her, but I also got to work. And, what other games are out there that I can play with a 6-year-old daughter? Do you know?
Probably classic games.
Oh, that's a good point.
Probably like maybe I feel like NES games are a little inaccessible, but maybe like 16-bit.
But so Minecraft is perfect. By the way,
Minecraft, yeah.
My notch story is that about.
We have a notch story.
I have a notch story. Like a decade and a half ago, maybe a little less, Notch came to one of my parties, and I was too shy to introduce myself. And I feel silly because he seemed, he had like, it was Notch. You could tell because he had the hat, and he had a constellation of, dudes around him. And I'm like, oh shit, it's Notch. I can't talk to him. And like to this day, I'm like, why didn't I just say hi? I don't know. You cannot be a studio head and be an introvert.
Right.
Right? I don't know. That's all I got.
Well, the psychology of being a studio head.
You're a studio head, you know this.
I mean, a studio, let's use the term loosely, but I mean, I do build teams of, contractors. I've built pretty big teams.
Don't sell yourself short.
I mean, I'm just trying to not be, not trying to, I like to, modesty is a virtue, right?
No, it really isn't.
It really, not when you're trying to raise money.
It really just is.
I'm not going to go in here with I'm not going to go into the bank with the camera. I'm going to pause this.
All right, let's do it.
All right,
We'll
here we go.
this
We're
way.
back. Where are we going now? A little slice of life.
You know what? Since it's, we're in Boston, we'll go through, here's the Dunks.
Yes,
Right?
The religion. I can't even, there we go.
Do you know they rebranded Dunkin' Donuts to Dunks?
It's like Dunkin' what?
Yeah, I don't know what the fuck that is. All right, look, what are we gonna finish on?
I don't know. I mean, how long can you keep doing this for? You said you're gonna retire at 60?
I founded a new company to solve game discovery.
Right.
So if you're in game dev,
This is your way out. This is your
no, this is my way
the rat
to.
race.
I'm going to, Ralph. I'm gonna be a unicorn, multicorn, decacorn. Right? That's the whole job. I want to solve game discovery for everyone.
Right.
So you have to never worry about getting to your ideal customer again. That's it.
Okay.
We got 5 years. We'll do it.
Why 5 years? Why have you given yourself 5 years?
Because I'm getting old. Aren't you getting old?
I don't feel old.
I don't either.
I
got a 1-year-old. I can't feel old.
I have, my colonoscopy's coming up. We'll see how old I am.
Shit, wait, your first one?
Yeah, I mean,
You didn't do the Cologuard?
No, I did that. That doesn't count.
That doesn't count. It's
Yeah.
true. Yeah. No, look. So we solve top of funnel game discovery. If you're watching this, help us. We want to help you. I don't know. I don't have a pitch.
Sure, it's okay. But we're in New England. We just had a conversation in the ATM.
Yeah, we did.
How do you feel to resume? Just for people who don't know what happened.
We did not look at the ATM conversation because a bunch of cash happened.
But the key point of that conversation was that Papa Ginos still slaps. Do you agree?
So I have not been to Papa Ginos in years, but they used to have this great all-you-can-eat pasta and pizza thing. I was in my 20s. I loved it.
Right.
Like, how can you hate? You ever be, the r/Boston subreddit? Papa Ginos is a thing there.
It should be.
Yeah, it should be.
It's still good. All right. Well, there we go.
Yeah.
This was a great interview. The first walk and talk on this channel ever.
Who knew? Who knew?
This is a breakthrough.
Dave Taylor, eat your heart out. You didn't walk and talk
So
with
far,
Ralph.
Dave Taylor, the most popular interview on the channel.
I love Dave.
Yes.
He's great. He's very thoughtful.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, until next time.
Until next time,
All right.
we're going to solve game discovery.
The aspirin solution. Yes.